Take each moment one by one and do the best you can. Yesterday doesn't matter, it only serves as a ladder. Tomorrow isn't guaranteed, so make your plans accordingly. Today is a new day to start again. Take each moment one by one and do the best you can. Grand Rising, today is a new day to start again. I need to grab my notes. Someone's getting fired and it can't be me. All right, so 2/19/2025. Waking with fresh eyes. I picked kind of a bland subject today. We're going to do owls. So, what I'm going to do, if you've never watched my live before, is I'm going to pick a random Bible verse and read that, and then I'll just kind of leave that open. So, let me get a drink of water first, then a drink of coffee. Okay, I did get my computer up and running. Last week, for some reason, it wouldn't open. So, all right. Psalms. I've actually been kind of drawn to read Psalms. We're just going to start with 70. Let's just do 70, and we'll just stay with that for today. Prayer for deliverance from enemies to the leader of David for the memorial offering. Pretty fitting. No laughing. All right, let's get into it. 70. Be pleased, O God, to deliver me, O Lord, make haste to help me. Let those be put to shame and confusion who seek my life. Let those be turned back and brought to dishonor who desire to hurt me. Let those who say, Aha, turn back because of their shame. Let all who seek you rejoice and be glad in you. Let those who love your salvation say evermore, God is great. But I am poor and needy. Hasten to me, O God. You are my help and my deliverer. O Lord, do not delay. Wow, that is fitting. Well, we'll revisit that later. Been an auspicious day already. Okay, so let's get into owl. Very bland, and I will admit that I didn't start this. I was really toying around with not even doing it because I have a lot on my plate right now. I've got a big trip ahead of me for those that have followed what I've been talking about. And so I'm pretty excited about uh, things in the future, but there's also a lot of things. So that being said, I woke up. Bodie woke me up this morning at 2 a.m. Was talking to me like meow, and I was trying to go back to sleep because I will be real. I'll just stay on script here. So what I do is now that I've read our Bible verse, I'm going to go through Owl and what I talked about and thought about today this morning and wrote down, and then I'll open it up if anybody wants to also discuss. So the first thing I learned is Parliament, which actually came from Narnia. It's so interesting that, the first thing when I'm looking into Owl, I run into Parliament and I'm like drawing the connection of Parliament. And then I realize that Parliament's just now been associated with nice hat. God bless. Thank you. So that's what I found was that the idea of Parliament and the group of owls actually isn't very old. And owls are much older for sure. Two types of owls: barn owls, they have a heart face, and typical owls, which has a large round face. And I could have went down that road, but I scaled back like I always do, and I just wanted to find out where the etymology of owl came from. And it's Old English again, Yule. And I thought it was interesting how the U has these two little dots above it. I find the entire language thing very interesting. But according to the etymology of owl or Yule, I don't know how to say it, Proto Germanic unwallow, unwallow. And what they said it was in the thing in the descriptions or in the etymology is that the original Germanic was that it was an imitation of the hoot, which makes sense, right? That the howl goes hoo hoo. The owl. I can talk about howl later. Owl goes hoo hoo, and you would think that would be the name. The owl would just be called the who or something like that. But they say that it came from and proto Germanic unwallow. I don't know how to say that, but that's how I unwallow. That's nothing like hoo. So I don't understand. That seems to be a program error. So then I'm like, okay, so we don't really think the etymology works. It somehow got labeled owl. Um, owls also have some association with Athena, but that would have taken me a long time to go that way. So I decided to stay just on the idea of wisdom. And then I never really associated owls with nighttime, but I guess that's the main association is that they are very active at night. I always liked the eyes on a swivel, that they were just like, I thought that was really cool. And I didn't put anything here. I was going to talk originally when I first started thinking about owls that there's a weird association for me somehow with Medusa, like how Medusa goes, and if you see it, you turn. But I don't think that really has them. But then, so while I was watching some videos on owls, Bodhi was sitting with me, and I saw some resemblance to cats. Um, the name is suspicious. And then the barn owl, there weren't barns. I think I'm going to probably go a little bit off of people's beaten path here of my belief system versus others because my narrative is basically open to anything. But the natives definitely were aware that and thought that they were messengers. Owls were messengers. And then I kind of got into because of the darkness, are owls associated with evil? They are unclean according to like biblical stuff. We should not eat them. I got into a little bit with the interesting fowl and then the birds of prey. They were birds that basically. So let's go into two. So I watched a few videos of owls. I thought it was really wild. I watched the gray owl as what I always go for like the biggest, and the gray owl is the biggest in North America, anyways. And so I was watching videos of them, and it's interesting that they basically find a nest that's already been created by another bird, usually, and it's high up, and they use the nest that's already created. And you're just like, well, that's weird that such an advanced, part of the ecosystem is using doesn't really have a home. They use others' homes. So that's interesting. And that the fact that the barn owls aren't really native to barns, they just had to adapt to barns. They were part of something that was much different at one time, I think. They don't mate, but these large gray owls, and there's a lot of different types of owls. The large gray owls, they don't mate for life. They find a place where they get together in this area, and they get it on. I'm going to stay on topic here so I don't make this into an X-rated thing about owls. Um, the life of an owl is very early spring. They come to this familiar place and they find a nest and get together with the opposite sex and they get it on. Owls have sex. I guess I've never really thought about it, but there's some stuff going on. They have about 4 or 5 eggs and they try to make them all work. that's dependent on really what they pick and the mate that they pick and if they can get food or not. So basically, now that they've had these eggs, the lady the lady owl, which is often bigger, I think, she sits on top of the eggs and keeps them warm in their little nest that they didn't make. They found it together. Basically, they both are stumbling around and like, hey, one of them finds it, and the other one's like, all right, you look all right. I'm gonna go in there. So what happens though is they have a successful experience. They come back to the same place again, not necessarily for the mate, but because they had a good experience where that was the next time they come through. So that's kind of how it works. They have their little love shack and they make their little, but it's made out of wood and stuff. It's somebody else's little thing. So it may deteriorate over time by the time they come back. So it's not a generational thing that can stand long unless it's just a really good nest and you got a good line of protectors because there's also predators. So you got to have the same guy and same gal. Boy, we went deep on the owls. Anyways, the male goes and gets the food and brings it back to the female who's just hunkered down on this place trying to protect her eggs for a certain amount of time so they incubate. And he brings back these rodents, and I was watching it. They drop it down their throat and just and it goes down. It's very aggressive. It's horrible. It doesn't look fun and pleasant and natural at all. But I guess they just swallow that thing whole and it goes down in their little stomach, and their natural stomach does its job, does its magic. I think it's fascinating, honestly. So the woman stays in the nest. The male keeps his eyes, hunts until the eggs hatch, and it's his job basically to keep everybody fed. Slowly, the mom of 4 or 5 eggs are nursed. Once those start to hatch, now the mom starts to now mom's got to be fed because she's feeding these four. So dad's out running around crazy trying to get enough rodents to bring back, and these little babies are eating these rodents whole, just almost as big as they are. It's incredible. And so then they go down and they eat them all, and maybe they throw up. They didn't. It was interesting. I was watching a videography that was done of people that had cameras on this stuff from the '90s. It's kind of cool. YouTube, you can upload these old videos, and you get to watch some of that old stuff. But anyways, so eventually, as they get bigger, these little cool little owls, they drop down onto the ground, and now they have to find their way up to a high place because they're going to get eaten by other things because they're still not, they can't fly yet. But part of their process, I guess, is they drop all the way down to the ground. So then they find a nice little perch to get on. And then now mom and dad's out. Mom finally gets out of the nest and she goes and has a bath and finds somewhere to get washed off because she's been like having to deal with these disgusting little babies eating on her all the time. And cleaning them and trying to keep everything clean. Dad's just running back and forth doing freaking who knows what he's doing in between waiting. He's just sitting there, just walking around, not walking. He just sits in a spot and just. She probably gets mad at him. Anyways, it's kind of funny. They get back together and they're helping, and the birds they get better, and then they go off and tell them the next year, and they come back and do it all over again. So I went off script here. And I binged watched last night. Part of the reason why I haven't put as much effort into my owls is I binge watched Saturday Night Live 50. Like I don't pay for anything, but I watched on YouTube the different clips and got kind of hooked onto it because I'm a schlub and I was looking to take my mind off of things. And there's a lot of nostalgia. I really like the Paul McCartney because I thought it was funny when I first started to listen to it. I'm like, he's too old to do this, I think. And then he brought it in, and I thought it was really good, actually. After that, and I have a hard time with Paul McCartney because I just don't know. I know he's cool, and I like him, but I still anybody that's got that much, it's hard to understand when you see so much deception. So I'm trying to just take things for what they are. But there was one he had a song, and I like it because the summation of it at the end was, "If you take love, make love to balance. You know, make enough love to balance what you've taken. That's your life, basically. And then you have to give it to the creator of what your purpose is. something like that. And so these little birds, these little owl birds, they just swallow the whole rodent, and their little bellies just cook it up. And that ain't evil. Their babies sometimes are eating little grandpa mice that had other families, or mom mice and little baby mice sometimes. Imagine the wisdom. How long do owls live? I assumed that they lived a long time, but I was wrong. They have a very short lifespan, actually. So, why are owls considered to be old and wise? I still think birds were basically messengers, and maybe still are. Um, I do think humans created many of our species in experimental labs that have been forbidden by the people that now control things. I think that there was collective stuff going on with people creating all kinds of weird stuff, and now it's forbidden because of the chaos that it caused. I think it's very possible that humans created owls and the platypus. When people say God was crazy or God was drunk, maybe God was man acting like God. And some things that become predators are very dangerous. So, Jurassic Park kind of thing. And now there are governors. Governors are interesting, um, because they are very part of our society. And then I segued because when I was a kid, my grandpa bought me a three wheeler. It had, if anybody knows what a three wheeler are, they're probably one of the coolest things you can ride around. It's got one wheel in front and two wheels in back, and they go pretty fast. And you just, but they are probably, they're not probably, they are very dangerous. There was a, they're basically outlawed now, because Uh, so my grandpa bought me this thing against his own wishes because I was a spoiled kid. He wanted to get me something much more practical and cooler, which was a really cool moped, street legal. And but I wanted a three wheeler, and the salesman kind of talked me into it too. I think there was probably some of that going on, but I still should have been much more respectful to what my grandfather was trying to buy me, looking back on it. But later, because it was a dangerous vehicle and he'd realized he shouldn't have probably succumbed to me, he put a governor on it, which is a thing, so you can't go as fast. And that pissed me off because I'm just like, you know what, dude? That's bullcrap. I don't even want this thing now if you got the governor. So I tried to figure out ways to take it off. Actually, I had coaxed friends that coaxed me, if they were friends, they probably weren't, that coaxed me into doing it because I wouldn't have even known how to get the governor off. But I think that's what it was. That was a bigger thing is I was riding around with this thing and they were letting me hang out with them because I had this cool three wheeler. But then when it was a governor put on it, they were like, well, that thing's lame, so you're lame. I think that might have been part of it now that I look back on it. So it's not all me. Sometimes we really take it on the chin, but sometimes we're really just caught up in things. I think it's possible that humans did have a higher development of capabilities in the distant past, like they were more civilized, that we are catching up to. And I wonder if AI is actually playing us. I was having a discussion the other day with someone, and I wonder if the AI has always been available. Humanity is always, it, humanity is already being harvested, like already. Like the AI already won, and we're slowly being harvested. Um, and it's necessary for us to grow a certain way. And right now we are blooming. That's really off the rails. So let's go back to owls, and then howls and wolves, mystics, and then fowls. I wrote king of the night is kind of what I would say is the guardian of the forest, is what the owl is. Interesting on the barns. Like I said, I think owls were leftovers from another era, remnants basically, and they may still be used, possibly, but in a muted fashion. They definitely see a lot. If I had the means, I would love to commune with owls. That would be pretty cool. And wolves, for that matter. I think I would enjoy communing with most of the animals. I know I enjoy Bodhi. Cats and owls are kind of the same kind of feel to them, but I don't know if they are. And then bats are definitely they're competitors. A lot of these are competitors. Eagles and crows and ravens, they fly high. We still don't know how. It kind of defies our understanding of physics and biology. I must be talking out of my ass again. Drop down to one person, one like. I was doing much better with likes before. Owls existed in Egypt times, so they are definitely old. And they have short lifespans, so they may not have always been. There have may have been just a creation, and it was a created being, like we've been told, and it's humanity that has advanced. Um, but they traveled better in the times that we think of before than we believe that they did. I think that there was a lot more mass communication, and birds make sense. But um, best of Chinese tea, you could see that there was like areas where you could basically get people were able to have other people travel out and get the best of different areas. And I thought it was interesting as you look back in histories also that there's like these different cults which had creations of excellence. Like you'd have these areas which created the best red silk, and they had families that were just devoted to creating this, and clans that were created of that's what their that's what their expression was like as a total family unit, or not even family could be the word, but it's just a perverted word, I think. Using creation to collectivism, basically. Home, 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 home. I started to get into that thing really early in my development, and then I just strayed away from it. And you really should probably do it daily. It's very powerful. It's probably one of the most powerful things we can do in prayer. When you say that sound in silence, it resonates. Om. You should try it. Sometimes I preach to who knows. Sometimes I just stray of places. So the wise owl, 16 years ain't that long. That's like the average lifespan of an owl. As Johnny said to Ponyboy as he was dying from being a stupid greaser hero that sacrificed himself for his friend, who actually followed him in there because he was such a loyal friend, for a couple kids he'd never met that would have burned to death if he hadn't done that, what he'd done, because of a cigarette that they left burning. And he probably was aware that it was their fault because of the cigarette. So I think he actually said it as they moved in, which is a little bit cheap. I'd almost rather they didn't say it. But it is something you would probably say in natural. And you should bring the audience along. 16 years just ain't long enough, is what he said as he was dying, because he was really faced up against it, what he actually sacrificed and what he didn't get to experience. And he wasn't sure where he was going because of his life and how horrible it was. It was a great moment for Ralph Macchio, actually. I thought that was what made him a star. Not that moment, but the whole movie, really. He kind of stole the show. Interesting enough, there was an owl in the barn of that movie that burned down. There was an owl in the barn. I'm telling you, the way is flowing with everything that we do. You just pick up on it. I thought it was really interesting because I really don't know how I got to the Outsiders, and then I I thought, I don't know what I'm doing right now, and I do have a lot on my plate, so I thought it would be a poetic way to end my little thing on owls. And we're not that deep into this, it's only 25 minutes, so I will open it up to other people if anybody wants to. I saw somebody chatted and said, "Nice hat, God bless." I'll take that. I don't think I've seen anybody else on here though. I hope my audio is working. It's 6:25 a.m. I don't even remember the date. We're getting close to my trip, is what we'll say. It's Wednesday, I believe. And things have been going pretty well in my life. I am very looking forward to being able to spend a little time with people that mean a lot to me. So that I am looking forward to. I have a little adventure ahead of me, so it's nice to have that. And I've said recently, I've talked a lot about seasons and seasoning in your life, and take each moment one by one and do the best you can. I guess that's it. Nobody else wants to talk about who are you? Who. I am starting to sing more. I am enjoying that, but I only sing in places where people want me to sing. It seems like a lot of places don't want me to sing, and they tell me in open forum that they don't want me to sing, so I don't. I try not to, but I have a problem. I like to sing, and so sometimes I'm just poking along and I start to sing, and I get the common jokes of, who sings this? Led Zeppelin. Let 'em. Ha ha. Basically saying you suck. Please stop singing, or implying that you're not very good and you should not trample on someone else's song. And you're just like, dude, I'm just trying to be happy. Why do people got to be so mean to people that are just trying to be happy? If you don't like it, you can find different ways to do that. I'd really appreciate you. You should do what you're really wanting to do. Just be transparent about it. I don't really like your singing, and I wish you not, because I don't like to see you in a good mood. Maybe part of it is I'm trying to be in a bad mood, or I just literally don't want to hear you singing, which is fine. But don't make fun of me because I'm just trying to be happy. It sucks, and it makes you feel bad. So there you go. To end it on that note. Everybody has a great day out there. Do great. Be great. The Tao is great and always.